Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's DAF, Bava Basra Yud Aleph. We are holding right on top Tanya. So further on the topic of the greatness of tzedakah and how it can protect a person from misfortune. Tanya Amru Olav al Binyamin HaTzadik. The following episode was said about Binyamin HaTzadik. That was his name. Shaya Memune al Kupa Shal Tzedakah. He was in charge of a tzedakah fund. Pam Achas. Bo Sa'isha Lafanav Bishnei Metzeres. It so happens it was Shnei Metzeres, times of famine, of hunger. A woman approaches him, Amar Lo, and she asks him, Rabbi, she called him, Parnaseni, please support me. Amar Lo, he tells her, Sari ha'avoida. It's an expression of an oath, a shvuah, in the service of Hashem in the Beis HaMikdash. Basically, I promise, She'ein b'kupa shel tzedakah klum, sorry, the tzedakah account is empty. Amar Lo, she responds, Rabbi, im ein atom parnaseni, if you don't support me, if you don't sustain me, calamity will strike. Harei isha v'shiva baneha mesim. Myself and my 7 kids will all perish. Having been left with no choice, he got up and he wrote her a check. Amadu pirnasamishaloi, from his own money. L'yamim. It so happens that down the road, chala v'natalamus, he fell ill and was in a precarious situation, on the verge of death. Amru malachi hashareis lefnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The malachim turned to Hashem, Ribono shel olam, Master of the world. To amarta, Hashem, you said in your Torah, Kol hamakayim nefesh achas miYisrael, if one sustains even one nefesh of Yisrael, ki'ilu kiyim olam maleh, it's as though he sustained the entire world. Every person is a microcosm of the world. And Rashi says, where do we find this concept in the Torah? So he says like this. Firstly, this is based on a Mishnah in Sanhedrin. Why did Hashem start the world with only one person? To teach you the importance. Look what happened from one person. Adam Rishon. He was the catalyst to all human beings in the world. So we see the importance of one nefesh. It encompasses an entire civilization. And also the pasuk where Cain killed Hevel says, look, the voice of the Dzimei Achicha, the bloods, many bloods of your brother, because it refers not only to himself but to his kids, descendants. So basically, certainly on the good side of things, if a person's Makayim sustains and enlivens a person, all those merits, his children, everything is attributed to him. Okay, so the Malachim continued. And this year, this tzaddik, he brought life to the Isha and her 7 sons. Certainly he has great zechusim yamos b'shanim mu'atos halalu. How could it be that he'll die young? Miyad korlig zardino, immediately in Shemaim they tore up his decree, and he lived a long, fruitful life. Tana, we learned in the Brisa, how much longer did he live? 22 years were added to his life. There was a story recently in London where a wealthy man who had given away tons of money on Purim passed away tragically the next day, and somebody asked Reb Chaim Kanevsky Shlita, tzedakah tatzil memavis, the power of tzedakah protects a person from death, and how could it be that a person who was just so heavily involved in tzedakah should... So Reb Chaim Kanevsky said, yeah, tzedakah adds life, yeah. Hashem already added 20 years to his life. And the people that were listening, the family, then reminded themselves of a story that happened exactly 20 years earlier, where he was in a dangerous situation. It was maybe an accident or something that he was miraculously saved from. He miraculously survived. And according to Reb Chaim Kanevsky, he was meant to die then. And because of his commitment to tzedakah, in fact, he lived 20 more years. So it wasn't like he died young. In fact, he died much later than he could have. Tana Rabbana, we learned in the Brisa. Maaseh b'Munbaz HaMelech. Another story involving the king Munbaz, who was the son of Hilni HaMalka, and he was from the descendants of the Chashmonaim. Shebiz Rebei's Oitzreisav, He distributed his treasures to the aniyim, to the poor people, and the treasures of his ancestors, in times of famine. He gave it all away. And his whole family, his brothers, everybody ganged up on him. And they're telling him, look, what are you doing? Look, you're giving it all away. All the treasures that your father has collected and put together and added to their father's collection. You're going to go and just waste it like this. You're just giving it all away. He tells them, let me teach you a lesson. I'm not giving anything away. I'm the collector. Yeah, my father is collected down here in this temporary, fleeting world. I collected upstairs. That's the true treasure. Shenemar emes me'eretz tismach v'tzedek mishamayim. Right, tzedakah ends up in shamayim nishkaf. My parents collected, treasures that are within hand's reach, meaning they're susceptible to robbery and thievery. My treasures are safe and sound, beyond the reach of any intruders. Shenemar tzedek mishpat is up there. Furthermore, my ancestors collect the things which don't generate dividends. They are what they are. But I amassed things which generate payers and dividends. Schar, shenamar imrud tzaddik kitoiv kipri, right? It generates payers. Malem yechelu. Avoisai gonzo oitris mom. My parents collected money. Vani gonas to oitris nefashis. I collected lives, souls. I acquired nefashis by sustaining poor people. Shenamar pri tzaddik eitz chaim veloikech nefashis chacham. So by giving tzedakah, you have acquired a nefesh. And finally, my parents collected for others, right? So when a father puts together treasures, it ends up being passed on to the next generation. But my collection is for myself, eternally mine. And this sums it up. I collected for this world. I created a treasure for eternity. Okay, now back to our Mishnah, where all residents are required to chip in to the municipal maintenance fund, provided you're a resident, provided you're there for at least 12 months. But if you purchased a home in that town, automatically you become a permanent resident and you have to contribute. Our Mishnah, which considers a purchaser to be a permanent resident, is not going like Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, the Sanya. Rabban Shemayin, as long as he bought any type of property, he's regarded like a local resident. You don't need to have a house. Says the Gemara, hold it, but don't we have another brayso? Rabban Shemayin, only a plot of land which is suitable for building a beis dira, only then is it considered like a resident. So we seem to have contradiction within this shita of Rabban Shimon Gamliel. Is just any type of property that you own, or is it a residential type of property? Says the Gemara, you're right. Trei Tanoi Valiba, the Rabban Shimon Gamliel. There are two versions in terms of what he said. Was it this or was it that? Continues the Mishnah. Ein cholken as a chatzar. Two partners who own a courtyard as a partnership, they cannot force each other to divide that chatzar. Provided, right? Unless there's enough there to make it functional for either party. It has to be divisible. So if there's enough there to go around, if there's 4 amas per person, then you can force them to split it up. But less than that, you stay together. Likewise, in a field, it needs to be 9 kav per party. You don't need that much. 9 half a kav. That's 4.5 total per person. When it comes to a garden, you can't force them. Provided there's a half a kav per person. But you don't need that much. A quarter kav is enough. Continues the Mishnah. Likewise, compelling him to split up these mansions. A birdhouse, a talis, a garment, a merchatz, a bathhouse, olive press, a field which is watered by hand from a local water source that needs less. You're willing to work on a smaller sized property because it has its local water supply. So in all these situations, it needs to be enough there to go around. It should be a functional asset for each individual. What's the rule? Zakla. This is the going formula. It needs to be that after you split it, the shmoi, its name, its function, it's still there. Cholkin, then you can force them to split. But otherwise, if it's too small for that, in cholkin, you leave it as it is. A masai, when does it have to have this criteria? When you don't have the consensus from all parties to split. If they're both agreeable, go ahead. Even if it's smaller than this, you can split it. And you can point this for the next line. But you should know, when we're speaking about holy scrolls like a Tanakh, even if they're both agreeable to sort of divide the Tanakh into two, they can't do that out of respect to the Torah scroll. When the Mishnah speaks about the chutzner being large enough to accommodate both people, 4 amos per person, this is aside from the service area in front of the doorway. So basically, you would bring your animal into the courtyard, stop in front of your doorway like a parking spot, then unload your animal. You need 4 amos for that. That's your service area. Okay, so that's sort of the basic thing. And then if in addition to that you have another 4 amos for other functions, for other uses in the chutzner, then you have enough to go around. So basically, you really need 8 amos per person. 4 for the service area, right? And another 4 to sort of spend time. We find the same in a brayso. Ein cholkim es chutzner. The only time you can force them to split the chutzner is if there's enough to go around. How much? 8 amos per person. There'll be 8 amos running into the chutzner for this person, and 8 amos running into the chutzner for the other person. Asks the Gemara, what do you mean? But the Mishnah says 4. 4 amos per person. So this proves our point. Because Rabbi Basra told us that there are 2 separate, distinct functions for the chutzner. There's that parking space, and for that you need 4 amos extending into the chutzner, and on top of that you need another 4 amos area for other uses. Shmamina. Others had a different starting point to this discussion. We start with the Mishnah. Tanan. Ein cholken sachatzer, ad sheheba, 4 amos lazeh, v'arba amos lazeh. You need 4 amos per person. But the Brisa speaks about 8 per person. Shmoina amos lazeh, u'shmoina amos lazeh. Here comes Rabbi Asi to the rescue. Rabbi Asi and Rabbi Yechanan. This is a machlokes. They're speaking about different things. When the Mishnah speaks about 4 amos, it means on top, in addition to the service area, which is a standard basic entitlement. Chutz mishal psach. On this topic, says Rav Huna, chutzner, let's say you have a courtyard, which was owned by 2 people. Let's say a father had a chutzner with a couple of houses. He passed away. Now goes to his 2 sons, Reuven and Shimon. Now, Reuven takes one house, Shimon takes the other. Now they decide to also split the courtyard amongst themselves. The thing is that Reuven's house has 1 entranceway, and Shimon has 2 psachim to the chutzner. Now when they come to divide the chutzner, how much does each person get? You would think 50-50. No, says the Gemara, chutzner mischalekas. How do you divide a chutzner? In accordance with the entranceways going from the houses into that courtyard. So basically, Reuven who has 1 courtyard, versus Shimon has 2, Reuven will get 1/3 of the chutzner because the chutzner so much identifies is considered a service area to the home. So the more openings you have, the more entitlement you have, the more access you have, the more claim you have to the chutzner proper. So Reuven gets 1/3 of that chutzner, Shimon gets 2/3. Rav Chizda says, no, that's going a bit too far. I agree that every Pesach should get some sort of usage area, some sort of service area beside it. That I agree. So in any case, Shimon will get more than Reuven, but not to that extent. First, you allot a 4 amma strip next to each Pesach. So Reuben gets, whatever his Pesach is, let's say 5 amas wide. So he goes it extends 4 amas into the Chatzar. That's his service area. That's his uncontested his. Shimon likewise takes every Pesach that he has. He could have 2, 3, whatever Pesachim he has, and he takes a strip of property into the Chatzar. That's uniquely his. Vashar chalku mishav, but the rest of the yard is unrelated to the doorways. So they both split it equally. That's Rav Chizda's approach. And we have a right to that approach from a brisa. Tanik b'aseder Rav Chizda, psachim shebachatzer. We have these psachim opening to the chatzar. Yesh lan arba amis. So it extends 4 amis into the chatzar. That's considered the service area. Hoyel zeh pesach echad. Uzeh shnei psachim. So Reuben had 1 doorway. Shimon had 2. Zeh sheish pesach echad Shimon. Reuben, who only has 1, noitel arba amis, takes 4 amis into the chatzar. V'zeh sheish shnei psachim. Shimon, who has 2 doorways, noitel shmoine amis. He is entitled to 8 amis. Vashar, but the rest, chalkim mishav, we split it equally. Now, hoyel zeh pesach rochav shmoine amis. Let's say Reuben's doorway or Shimon's doorway was 8 amis wide. How much does he get? Noitel shmoine amis, can I get pesach? So it's all about the size of the pesach. It's a service area to the pesach. So if the pesach is 8 amas wide, you get a strip of 8 amas into the chatzar, 4 amas into the chatzar. Noitel shmoine amis can I get pesach, v'arba amis b'chatzar, and 4 amas into the chatzar. The more figured that it means he gets another 4 amas. Arba amis b'chatzar, ma'avid the time. Why is he getting an extra 4 amas? Rabbi, no, it's not what we meant. We just meant hachikama. He means like this: noitel shmoine amis b'irach chatzar. In the length he gets 8, right, corresponding to his doorway. V'arba amis b'irach chatzar, and it extends into the width 4 amis. Okay, that's what we said. Amar Ameimar. Hi, pira the sufli. So again, we're speaking about entitlement. Let's say they have a chatzar and they want to divide it. So how much what is considered your service area and what is considered his? So we spoke about the strips right beside the doorways. Here comes another halacha. Amar Meimar, hi pira the sufli. Here you have a pit in the chatzar, the sufli where you toss the date pits, okay, the animal feed. So it's tossed out you bring it out the doorway into the chatzar, into the pit. Yesh la arba amas l'ruach v'ruach. So whoever owns that pit is entitled to a 4 amma strip all around that pit to allow him access to his pit. That's his private property. It's only true if there was no opening straight from his house into the pit. Right? There's no designated, access to the pit. Basically, rather he just walks out of his house into the chatzar randomly, and he finds his way to his pit. So then we have to give him access on all sides. But let's say he had a pesach right near the pit, through which he tosses the waste into the pit. So then he's limited. He only gets 4 amis in front of the pesach, meaning he gets 4 amas access to that pit, but only on the side of his pesach, because that's the direction that he's coming from. Okay, that's one way the Mefarshim learn. Some say if it's right near the Pesach Habayis, doesn't get any extra, he just gets the 4 amas in front of his Pesach, like we said before. Okay, Amar Rav Achsadra Eino Dalad Amas. So you have an Achsadra, which is sort of like a terrace, a covered area, which is open on the sides, and it's extending from his house. Right, he has like a doorway, then he has the Achsadra, some sort of terrace, some sort of awning, going into the chatzar. He doesn't get another dalad amos strip outside the achsadra. You know why? Taimamai. What's the whole point of giving a person 4 amas? It's a service area. It's a place where you unload your packages, right near your doorway. Taimamai b'shem pirik masoy. It's meant for unloading of his donkey, right? Hacha here efshad ayil gavoy mafarik. Here he just drives his donkey into the terrace because since it's an exposed area, you typically don't leave anything there. It's just an empty place, so there's no reason not to bring your donkey right directly in there, all the way to the entry of your home, so you're not entitled to an extra 4 amis outside that achsar. Masar Rav Sheishes, Yarakash. Echachari batim. Whether it's the entranceway to the home, whether it's the entranceway to the achsadra, in both cases, yesh lan dal amis. He's entitled to an extra 4 amis. Even an achsadra. Answers the Gemara. Kitanyahi, that price is speaking about a special achsadra. The achsadra, the Beirav, the achsadra of Rav, where he taught his Talmidim, which was an enclosed area, right, fully enclosed, but it had lots of windows, like a sunroom. So since it's a protected area, typically you have belongings there, in which case you hesitate to bring your animals in there, you stop it outside, so you need that extra 4 amma area outside for unloading. Asks the Gemara, Achsada de Rav, well, if we're speaking of this type of room, Pshita, of course, obviously, in Druna Ma'alni, then it's just like a plain room. I mean, it's like any other house. Ela B'Achsadra R'myaisa. We're speaking about Achsadra R'myaisa, was like a gazebo. It's covered and has like low, walls that don't reach the roof. It's like sort of open, like an airy space. And the point is that since it's somewhat enclosed, it is meant for storing things, and you wouldn't bring your animal in there, and therefore you have to stop outside and unload, and you're entitled to the extra 4 amis. Tana Rabbanan, Beis Shar, which is a gatehouse. Achsadra, which is what we spoke about, or Peses, that's like an exterior porch. So basically you have, these old motels down the highways, you have these like parking lot, and then you access the rooms from the outside from the parking lot, and then you go up a set of stairs, externally exposed, set of stairs to the second, like a porch, and then from there you access the second floor rooms. So that's the merpeses, which the Gemara is speaking about. So basically, the upstairs rooms will access the parking lot by way of that porch, going down the steps into the parking lot. So yesh lan dal amis. So down at the bottom of the staircase, they're entitled to 4 amis because that's where they unload. Let's say there are 5 rooms upstairs, 5 people using the merpeses. So how much space down in the parking lot are they entitled to? Again, only 4 amis because that's their parking spot. They all share that space to unload. Person owns a chicken coop in the chutzner. Does he get 4 amis in front of the chicken coop? Yesh lo dal damis, or maybe not. Or ain't lo dal damis. Amalei says no. Time in my. What's the point of dal damis? Mishum pirik masoy. That's the unloading area. Hacha here by the chickens. Metapas v'oilam metapas v'yer. The chicken just jumps up and down. He doesn't need any parking space on the bottom. Some learned that it means that the owner, when he goes to maintain his chickens and feed them, he doesn't do much business downstairs. He just climbs all the way up, and that's where he conducts business. Here comes a new shayla. Bias, you have a house, a room. Half of it is covered with a roof, and half is not covered. And it's opening to a chutzner, right? The owner of this room, is he entitled to an extra 4 amma strip outside this room for unloading, for servicing, or not? He says, no, he doesn't get dal damas. You know why? Needless to say, if the covered area is on the interior portion of the bias, so the outside part of the room is exposed. So in this case, it's simple. Simple. I'll take his donkey into that space because it's exposed, there's nothing lying around there, right? And I'll unload in that room. He doesn't need an extra space outside. And the chiddush is even if the covered space is on the exterior section of that room, which is closer to the chutzner, closer to the entry, here as well, he's not entitled because he can just drive his animal through that covered space, right? Clear a little path between his belongings and get through there. And bring it, go inside to the uncovered space, which is now open, exposed, and presumably free of any objects. And fire can unload over there. He had another shayla. Right? So it's Rav Huna Rabbi. Echad mibnei mavui shebikesh lahachzir pischa lemavi acher. So picture the story. You have a house situated between 2 alleyways heading into the street. Now, until now, he was accessing one alleyway, right? His doorway was going this way into the street. Now he decided to switch routes. He's going to open up a door to the other way and use the other alleyway with the people living in that area. He's going to divert his Pesach to the other Mavi, the Mavi Acher, and use that area. Can these new people here hold them back? What do you mean? You're increasing traffic. Or maybe they can't do that. He says, yeah, they could. They can hold them back. Until now you were accessing the other direction, stay there. Next question he asked him. Achsanya, Rashi learns, it's about quartering the troops. So they have the Goyish army would come around and you would have to host them and take care of them. So this burden, how is it distributed? Interesting question. So the Chatzar has many people, 20 people, right? So does each person get an equal share? Or do we say, well, your house has 3 doorways and somehow maybe the authorities just look at the doorways, they assume they're a separate unit, so they look at it like 3 families and they expect you to do more. So is that how you distribute this burden? Is it according to people or according to Pesachim? No, it has to do with people. So every person gets a certain percentage, equal percentage of this burden. You find the same in a Brisa. So you have the animal waste, which was left in the Chatzar, right, discarded by the people living in the Chatzar. So after the compost composes, and now we're taking it out to the fields for fertilizer. So how do you divide it between the residents? Oh, interesting. Here it goes according to entranceways, because Rashi says, I'll just read Rashi inside because it's a bit hard to understand. He says like this: Why? What's the connection to Pesachim? I mean, right? Because it's through the Pesachim that the residents discarded their waste and threw it into the Chatzar. So that's the formula. You've got to work with Pesachim. We don't start counting people and right? And could be the more Pesachim you have, presumably the more people are around. In any case, the entitlement is based on Pesachim. You have 3 Pesachim, you get that much more Zevel. Achsanya, however, when it comes to quartering the troops, it's according to the amount of people around. So let's say you have this alleyway into which you have chatzeres diverting their sending their traffic, right? So you have courtyards with many residents with him, or one person living in a courtyard, and his courtyard, his chutzner is now open to an alleyway. So you have an alleyway funneling into the street, and into the alleyway you have several chatzeres. So let's picture it like this. It's all lined up, right? You have a street, you have an alleyway off the street, and you have chutzner number 1 opening into the alleyway, chutzner number 2 behind it, 3, 4, all the way to the back of the alleyway. Let's assume it's like a dead-end street. So you have the number 5 all in the back. So let's say one of these people using the Mavi, one of the Chatzar owners decides, I'm entitled to have a Pesach into the Mavi, so I have to have like a 4-hour service area that really is considered technically like an extension of my Chatzar, right? So that space in the Mavi, I'm going to block off. It's mine. And they're going to have to walk around it to get to the street. He wants to block part of the alleyway, the section which is right near his entranceway. The other people can oppose that because they're going to have to walk around his new partition to get to the street. Here comes a kash. From a brisa where it seems that he could do that. So you have 5 chatzeres accessing the Mavi. So they're all walking through the outer part to get inside, right? So they walk from the street into the first section of the Mavi, which is near the Chitzayna. Chitzayna here is the chatzer closest to the street. They walk through that. And the Chitzayna can only use that space. He can't go inside, further into the Mavi. It's not his space. And the other people, the other Mishtamshis Mashniya, they can use the section of the mavi, which is directly opposite the second chatzar, number 2. Vashniya, Mishtamesh la'atzma. But he can only stay there and use his space. He can't use the space behind him. And he could also use obviously the space near the street, opposite the outer chatzar, the number 1 chatzar, because that's his access route to his place. Nimtzis, the bottom line is, it comes out like this. Pnimis, the one all the way inside, all the way in the back, number 5, Mishtameshes la'atzma. So he could mishamish the space in the chatzar near his place, which is sort of exclusively designated for his use, because nobody should be going back there. And lucky him, he can use the mavi opposite all the other chatzeros as well, because that's his access route to his place. Bottom line, what do we see here? That it's all about where you're situated. The fellow all the way in the back of the mavi, he's a lucky fellow. He can do what he wants back there. Whereas Rav Huna told us a minute ago that nobody, right? He was referring to anybody. Nobody's allowed to block off the alleyway. It's considered a joint usage area. The entire thing, for everybody. Says the word Tanai, you're right, it's a machlekes Tanaim. Whether we consider, the space near your chatzar as yours, designated for your exclusive use, or do we say, no, the entire mavi is public domain? The sign, Echad mibnei mavi shebikesh lahachzir pischa l'mavi achar. So there's a similar case to before. We had a house situated between 2 alleyways, and he decided to rearrange his configuration and start using the other mavi. He can't do that. Bnei mavi ma'akven alav. Okay, hayasasam. But let's say he already had a doorway into this alleyway, but he had closed it up for some reason. And now he changed his mind. He's trying to reopen it. In this case, he has a right to do so because it's a pre-existing condition. He already had access. The people cannot hold him back. Whose shita is that? The Rebbe. Chamesh Chatzeres is a sort of a totally new point here. Chamesh Chatzeres. You have 5 chatzeros accessing the alleyway. So they all have equal rights to use the entire mavi. The one near the street could walk all the way back to the dead end and vice versa. We don't consider this to be your personal space. The whole mavi is jointly accessed by everybody. Asks the Gemara, 1 second, whoever spoke about this case? Rebbe was speaking about a totally different thing about diverting Pesach. Chatzeres, Mandachar Shemayu, even mentioned Chatzeres in this whole Chesur Mechsha Ochitani. The Bryce is meant to be learned as though it's missing some words. And it goes like this. V'chein Chamesh Chatzeres. First Rebbe says, okay, about the thing with changing the doorway, that's number 1. Number 2, V'chein Chamesh Chatzeres. Ha'apsucha is lamavi. Another halach. You have 5 Chatzeres open to a mavi. Kulon mishtamshes machatzoina, v'chatzoina mishtamshes la'atzma v'chulu. Rebbe goes with the Bryce, very similar to the Bryce that we said before. My space is my space, your space is your space, right? That, for instance, the Pnimi, the fellow all in the back of the Mavi, the furthest from the street, he has exclusive rights to his Mavi space, and the other fellows cannot interfere. That's Rebbe's shita. It's personal. However, Rabbi Shimon Lazar Omer, no, it's not true. The Mavi is jointly shared and accessed by all the Baalei HaMavi, by all the Chatzeres. Chamesh Chatzeres, Shimon Lazar Omer, Chamesh Chatzeres, Ha'apsuchas LaMavi, by Mavi, with 5 Chatzeres, Kulan, Mishtam Shois B'Mavi, they all equally use the Mavi without any differentiations. Amar, let's go back to the halacha we just learned. Hoya Sasam Ubigash L'Paischa. So this fellow had a Pesach to this Mavi, and he decided to close it up. Now he decided to open it again. They can't hold him back. That's only true. That's psimov. He hadn't yet removed the doorway, the doorpost, and all that. So it's still considered an existing doorway. Aval parat, that's psima. But if you removed the door configuration, so it's as though there's no doorway. Now he wants to sort of open a new doorway. He's not reopening the old one. He's inventing a new one. In this case, Pnei Mavoi Makvanolov, they can hold him back. You have no right to introduce your presence to our Mavi. Abaye brings a raya to Rabbi. Time say, look, I'm bringing a raya from a brisa that the doorway is what makes or breaks it. Bias sosum. Yesh ladal amis. A person has a bias open to a chatzor, and he closed the door. He plugged up the doorway. He's still entitled. Yesh ladal amis. He's still entitled. Right? If they eventually divide the chatzor, he still gets that 4 amas strip as an extension of his doorway, that service area. But parat et psima. But if he removed the doorway, that's it. He obliterated the Pesach, he loses that entitlement. Ein ledal amis. A similar halacha, bayis sosum inim tamis kol sviva. So, if there is a mace who's metame inside a house, right? So we know that a caver is metame all around, but a house that has a doorway, so it's like you expect the tumah to go out through the doorway. So anywhere else around the house, you touch the house from the outside, you're not tummy. Parat es psima, but let's say he removed the doorway. So you have a block or a wall. For all practical purposes, it's a wall. Doesn't look like a doorway anymore. In this case, it is metami. Rashi says it's like a caver. The dead person in there is like encased in a tomb. And the Chachamim applied a tumah 4 amas around the caver. Rashi says so that people should be careful. People that are involved in tahara should be careful. So they applied this tumah, and since this house has no doorway, it's not just a closed doorway, it has no doorway. It's considered like an entombed tumah, and it's metami all around. So we see this idea that the existence of the doorpost, etc., that is what determines whether or not we consider this to be a doorway. Okay, let's recap today's daf. We discussed Binyamin HaTzadik, who gave away his own money, and Vazechet Arichas Yamin, story about Munbas HaMelach. We spoke about eternal treasures versus fleeting treasures. We spoke about the idea of Yesh Bo Kedei Chalukah, the property, the field, the chatzor has to be divisible in order for you to compel your partner to divide. We spoke about this idea of a service area, so each Pesach gets a Arba Amis service area. We discussed many, many different variations of this halacha, what is entitled, what's not entitled. We concluded with the halacha of the fellow who's changing direction from one movie to the other, and typically you can't do that unless you already had a door. So although it was blocked up, as long as the door was still intact, you're still entitled to reopen that doorway and re-access this mavi. All the best to you and Hatzlacha Rabbah.